Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to another episode of Vibe Gardening Inform Edition, where we're entering the new year of 2026, and we're going to talk about how I went on a 1 week vacation and came back to my hydroponic system being extremely healthy. So, with that said, let's go. So, everyone, welcome back for 2026 here with our first episode of the year, where we're going to be looking at how I prepared these two systems here for my week away. And actually, the spinach already has gone through a harvest already. And here below, I'm going to show you guys the before and after of what the spinach garden here looked like when it came back. As you can see, it has developed quite a bit. It bloomed quite a bit. Everything is officially in early vegetative state, and everything was doing just fine. The only thing was I let the my smart thermostat turn the temperature in the house down. And at first, I realized it was going too low because as I show upstairs, the basil was suffering. But the one thing I did totally forgot about was the temperature in the basement was dropped. And from the dropping temperature in the basement, the baby kale, was how young it was. I'll show you in a minute here, will suffer quite a bit. And because of low temperature, also the lettuce basically stayed in dormant with the way it was basically stayed about the same as it was before I left. The more advanced lettuce was able to thrive quite a bit, but the baby ones basically stalled completely in their advancement, and that was quite expected. So essentially, one of the main things that you will see in the theme of this episode is that temperature played quite a role in this. And another theme was trying to reduce the metabolic rate of the plants so that the plants can basically last longer with more water basically still in the tank, as it uses less water and it can last longer on the same tank. So, well, with that said, let's kind of go into each one system and go over a little bit what's been happening. As we'll see here from the above container look at the spinach garden, it is absolutely coming out to be very similar to what it looked like before I left. But that was after I harvested about 4 ounces of spinach, which frankly is a pretty good haul. In the local farmer's market, that'll fetch me close to $5 worth of spinach that I just harvested. So it's looking quite good. And if we look at the below surface here, the roots are looking like some real developed roots now. As you can see, it is very long. It's got a lot of exploratory roots, as well as the fibrous horizontal um, roots that we saw before. So this is looking like actually getting into that mature stage of vegetation. So this spinach is doing quite well from all that, and partly because when left, it was already about in early vegetative state. So that temperature drop was exactly what the spinach actually likes, and it thrived perfectly with that temperature. As we can see, not the same can be said about the kale. It is looking quite pale, and it's struggling quite a bit. This looks like more of a cold issue than anything, because obviously dropping below 60 degrees actually dropped into the low 50s. And I think being this young, this kale struggled mightily to make it. So I put a heat mat under the tank here, and that should give it a boost in vitality going forward. Hopefully, it will correct things for this guy. While I was gone, this guy also came up. As you can see, it's showing some of the same issue with the lighter green on the pod, and the Kotlin is still on there, and it's going to be okay. I think this will make it. So now look at the lettuce bed right here. This is the more advanced one that was started earlier. We see that this lettuce here, these were actually mature before we left, and they actually expanded quite a bit while I was gone. And the reason is that they're mature now. And as you can see, the temperature was just right for it. But these baby ones, they barely grew while I was gone. And the reason for that is the temperature was so low that they didn't really do much of anything because it was still just waiting for better weather. And now that I'm home, the temperature, ambient temperature should be rising, and it should stabilize and get it to come up later. But the truth is, with how fast these mature ones has grown, it might overshadow them for quite a while. And it will have to take until I do the harvest on these big ones, mature ones, before they can get the proper light and everything else before they can kick off. So yeah, there's going to be a tale of two halves here with this container here. This lattice bed here is a much different story in that it all was pretty fairly new when they first started out. And so while I was gone, basically what happened was these guys here barely developed much at all while I was gone. The temperature was too low. But then these right here, the seeds actually died. It was too moist for too long without any development. So what ended up happening was uh, the seeds were basically dead now. So I had to basically plant new seeds. So I'm basically going to wait and see what's going to happen with the new batch to see if these seeds here will catch them in 3 days before this side becomes big enough and start overshadowing the leaves and block the lights. So hopefully that's going to also take care of itself, or else I'm going to, just like the other bed, I'm going to have 12 two halves. So this system, to remind my viewers here of this is the system I started with the Hydroponics 101 series. So we got a cilantro in the back, we got the parsley in the middle, this basil came out, and the parsley again over here to replace the dead basil growth. So being upstairs, the temperature is a lot more steady, and had to basically adjust my vacation mode on my thermostat to be about 55 degrees to make sure the basil will make it. And so as we can see, the temperature was borderline, so there was a little bit of yellowing on the leaves from the temperature drop, but it was generally speaking okay. And the other thing, as we can see, is they followed my shorts. The cilantro was flapping. The flapping has essentially given way to basically having a strong upright cilantro plant, thankfully. I'm not sure what the weather was like. I think it snowed quite a bit here in Michigan while I was gone. But having lack of daylight, I think helped straighten the plant out with the lack of confusion of lights. And the parsley is doing just fine. Parsley is one of the most uh, cold hardy plants in here, and it did just fine with this temperature here. All right, so the other thing that I kind of will have to mention here for the hydroponic system, way is the fact that you want to stabilize the system by basically kind of just get the baseline pH to about 6 for all these plants. They require between 5.8 and 6.5. And that worked out pretty well, having it starting at 6. And then I kind of let it get to its normal baseline of nutrition, in that it's about 180 ppm for the spinach. And these guys here, I mean, I kind of let it sit about 120 or so. And the idea was that with these two systems both, I did not push them before I left. And that was deliberate in that, the EC for these will actually require to get at a much higher level at this stage of the game. These are over close to 2 months here, and it should be a lot bigger. And I deliberately didn't push it, knowing that I would take that week off. And because I don't want to be away while this thing starts growing, expanding massively. Same thing with the lettuce here, in that I don't want it to get into a hyper bloom while I was away. So kind of just time your things so that with a timed vacation here is you want to not push right before you go so that you can walk away. And as the pH rises, the uptake of nutrition from the plant, from the solution, will decrease naturally as the pH goes up, which is to your advantage because before I left, the uptake of water on this spinach has already gotten up to be about a gallon a week, which is about 4 liters of water per week. And it drops pretty fast. And the last thing I want to do is have the water drop past the level of which the kale, baby kale, will be able to soak up. And so having the pH rise is actually to my advantage with the lower temperature, Now, like I said, one thing I made a mistake of was that the temperature get too low, and so the kale suffers still. But that's something that we can take care of later on. And as the temperature goes along and goes higher, especially summer vacation, where the temperature is naturally higher, you have to keep in mind that the whole system is going to be more rapid because of the higher temperature. So that's something that you will have to keep in mind, that with you being away, the pH drifting higher and the temperature potentially lowering will reduce the metabolic rate. Not catastrophically, but enough so that the water level doesn't drop. And if the water level gets too low and the root doesn't touch water, then it's game over for you. But due to the temperature and pH working in your favor, that's not going to happen. So that definitely helped out quite a bit in this scenario. All right, guys. So to conclude everything here, we went through how basically I went away right before the end of the year for a week, and I was able to keep my hydroponic system doing quite well while I was away. And the main reason for that was to leave at its regular baseline, to not push up before you go, because that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to burn your plants before you go. Also, to try, if possible, to time your development stage of your plants so that they don't get into the sudden rapid increase in metabolics before you leave. And the final thing that really kind of got to keep in mind is that when the pH rises and the temperature drops, if it's a winter vacation, the metabolics of the plant naturally will decrease, which will reduce the water intake of the plant, which will reduce the risk of the younger plants from being able to get water while you're gone. And that's a huge thing in keeping your system alive. Now, if it's coming in the summer and they do increase the metabolic rate, by that point, you should have roots that's going to be long enough to be able to reach down when the water level gets too low. And basically create yourself a Kratky system here. And that should help you out. So with that, I hope that gives you a good idea of how to leave your hydroponic systems while you're on vacation. So until next time, keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.